She broke every Hollywood rule and somehow became one of its most beloved icons. This is the untold truth of Diane Keaton, a woman who turned awkwardness into art, made oversized suits glamorous, and redefined what independence looks like in an industry built on conformity. But behind the laughter, the hats, and the legendary career was a complex story, one marked by insecurity, heartbreak, addiction, and an unshakable desire to stay true to herself. Today, we're diving into the real story behind Diane Keaton, the woman who never married, never apologized, and never stopped inspiring generations to live life on their own terms. Diane Keaton, born Diane Hall, wasn't supposed to be a star. She didn't fit Hollywood's template. She wasn't the sultry bombshell or the flawless ingenue. But she became something much rarer, an icon of individuality. From The Godfather to Annie Hall, she built a career on defiance and authenticity. Yet beyond the camera, her journey was filled with quiet battles, from self-doubt and eating disorders to complicated relationships and an unconventional path to motherhood. This isn't just a career retrospective. This is the story of how one woman rewrote the rules of fame and found freedom by refusing to play by anyone else's script. Diane Hall was born on January 5, 1946, in Los Angeles, California, into a conservative Catholic family. Her father, Jack Hall, worked as a civil engineer and real estate broker. Her mother, Dorothy, was a homemaker, a creative spirit who once dreamed of being a writer or artist. Dorothy's big moment came when she was crowned Mrs. Los Angeles, a homemaking pageant for mothers. To young Diane, watching her mother shine, then quietly return to domestic life, was both inspiring and unsettling. She later described it as a moment that shaped her forever. Her mother had talent, imagination, and charm, but all of it was contained within the role society expected of her. Diane feared that if she followed the same path, wife, mother, homemaker, she would disappear too. So she made a silent promise: she would never vanish into someone else's story. If that meant staying single or standing apart, so be it. That decision would define her entire life. After studying at Orange Coast College, Diane moved to New York to chase her dream of acting. When she tried to join the Actors Equity Association, she discovered that Diane Hall was already taken. So she used her mother's maiden name, Keaton. It wasn't just a formality, it was a declaration. Diane Keaton would be her own person, no matter what it cost. Standing 5 feet 7 inches, with expressive brown eyes and a naturally offbeat charm, Diane stood out. In 1968, she landed a role in the Broadway musical Hair, known for its daring full-cast nude scene. But Keaton refused to participate, even when offered extra pay. That small act of defiance said everything about her character. She would perform, but never conform. That same year, fate introduced her to a man who would shape her career, Woody Allen. Keaton and Allen met while working on Play It Again, Sam, a Broadway play he wrote and starred in. Their chemistry was instant, not just romantically, but intellectually and artistically. She wasn't like other actresses he had worked with. She was spontaneous, disarmingly honest, and genuinely funny. Their relationship blossomed offstage, and soon Keaton became Allen's muse, the inspiration for one of cinema's most unforgettable characters. In 1977, she starred in Annie Hall, a film that mirrored their dynamic. Annie's quirks, the awkward pauses, the vests and ties, the slightly hesitant laugh, were pure Diane Keaton. The film swept the Oscars, winning Best Picture, Best Director, Best Original Screenplay, and Best Actress for Keaton. But behind the success, Diane was battling her own demons. She struggled with bulimia, a secret she hid for years. It wasn't about vanity, it was about control. She would binge on entire pies, loaves of bread, and fried chicken, then purge in silence. The pressure of fame, the expectations of beauty, and the emotional toll of public life all compounded into a dangerous cycle. Later, she would admit that during this period, she was also drinking heavily, up to 25 bottles of wine a week. It wasn't the glamorous Hollywood life people imagined. It was escape. Before Annie Hall made her a household name, Keaton had already earned respect for another role, Kay Adams, in The Godfather. Director Francis Ford Coppola cast her despite skepticism from the studio. She wasn't a typical choice for a mafia epic, but Coppola saw what others missed, a gentleness and emotional depth that balanced the film's intensity. Her performances in The Godfather, 1972, and The Godfather Part II, 1974, added something rare to the crime genre: humanity. In a world filled with betrayal, greed, and violence, Kay represented conscience, the cost of Michael Corleone's empire. Her iconic line, "It was an abortion, Michael. It was a son," wasn't just a dramatic twist. It was one of cinema's most devastating rejections of corruption and control. That scene remains one of the most powerful in film history, ending with the silent image of Michael closing the door on her and symbolically on everything good left in him. With The Godfather Part II earning 6 Oscars, Keaton's place in cinematic history was sealed, but her off-screen life still followed no Hollywood blueprint. Throughout her career, Diane Keaton had relationships with some of Hollywood's most famous men, Warren Beatty, Al Pacino, and Woody Allen among them. Each relationship was meaningful, but none lasted. When asked why she never married, her answer was always clear: "I didn't want to give up my independence. I didn't want to become someone else's version of me." For Keaton, love was real, but not worth the cost of self-erasure. She loved deeply, but she valued her autonomy even more. After her relationships ended, she focused on work and on herself. At age 50, she made another bold decision: to become a mother on her own terms. She adopted her daughter, Dexter, and later her son, Duke. To Hollywood, it was unconventional. To her, it was freedom. She didn't need a husband to start a family or to define her worth. She created a life entirely by her own design. In an industry obsessed with youth and perfection, Keaton did something radical. She didn't chase either. Her style in Annie Hall, baggy suits, fedoras, oversized blazers, wasn't a costume. It was her real wardrobe. Woody Allen reportedly questioned it at first, but she insisted. It became iconic. Designers like Ralph Lauren later credited her with transforming women's fashion, making masculine tailoring not just acceptable, but desirable. She made eccentricity elegant. She made being awkward, authentic, and honest beautiful. And she did it all without ever conforming to Hollywood's beauty standards. She aged naturally, laughed loudly, and refused to apologize for either. Diane Keaton's loyalty has often been both admired and criticized. When Woody Allen faced serious allegations, she stood by him, not because she condoned everything, but because she believed in loyalty and complexity. She once said, "People aren't their worst headlines." That perspective, nuanced, compassionate, and sometimes controversial, reflected her belief that humans are never just one thing. Keaton valued relationships, even flawed ones. She believed in forgiveness and in seeing people as whole, not headlines. From Baby Boom and Father of the Bride to Something's Gotta Give, Keaton continued playing strong, funny, imperfect women. Women who mirrored her own contradictions. Off-screen, she became an accomplished photographer and author, and even tried her hand at directing. Unstrung Heroes, 1995. Her work behind the camera reflected the same quiet intelligence that defined her acting. But more than her resume, her true legacy lies in her attitude. She never defined success by marriage or validation. She defined it by freedom, by creating, laughing, and living honestly. So why did Diane Keaton never marry? Because she didn't need to. She didn't need a wedding to feel complete, or a man to feel loved. Her life became proof that fulfillment doesn't come from following the script. It comes from writing your own. She once said, "I'm not afraid of being alone. I'm afraid of being someone I'm not." And that's exactly what made her unforgettable. Diane Keaton didn't just act. She embodied a way of living, independent, funny, flawed, and fearless. She taught generations that happiness isn't about perfection or partnership. It's about authenticity. Diane Keaton's story isn't about rebellion for rebellion's sake. It's about quiet resistance. It's about choosing to live without apology and showing that being yourself, fully and unapologetically, is the most radical act of all. She never needed a wedding, a scandal, or a label to define her. She was enough, always. If this story moved you or made you see Diane Keaton in a new light, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Every week, we uncover the real stories behind the biggest names in Hollywood, the stories behind the spotlight. This was Diane Keaton, the woman who never married Hollywood's idea of success, because she had already built her own.